Welcome back to another Heather Mac Reacts. Today we're going through some Am I the A-hole stories, and if you like videos like this, make sure you subscribe because I post 5 times a week, every single week. And if you are ready, I'm ready. Let's get into this first Am I the A-hole story. This says, am I the a-hole because I won't ask the teacher to change my daughter's grade? So your daughter thinks you're the a-hole for not asking for her grade to be changed. This seems fishy. Let's get into it. My daughter, Inez, Inez is in the 8th grade. I am a single parent who is barely getting by. We can't afford the activities for graduating class, like trips to New York and dances, etc. I told Inez this, and she seems to think that we just can't afford it. I got called in to talk to her English teacher over a paper she wrote last month. The prompt was what I did on spring break. Inez spent it at home or tagging along with me to my job, but instead she wrote this 10-page story about how she found this door in the office I clean that took her to the past. She wrote a short fiction story instead of the paper her teacher wanted, and she got a D. Okay, Inez wanted me to convince the teacher to change her grade. I told her that she can't submit short stories instead of homework, so she deserves that poor grade. But Inez says that she doesn't have anything to work with, otherwise she hates English. We are going back and forth. She has a C in English, and I told her she is grounded until she gets her grades up. Inez is upset and won't speak to me. I had another meeting with a school counselor who suggests that I'm being too harsh on her and to encourage her to write more. That's not the problem. My problem is that Inez doesn't listen to me or her teachers and acts like she's living in that dimension in her stories. That's not how the real world works. Am I the a-hole? Okay, I got a really good solution for this one. Inez did the wrong assignment. She should not get an A based on the great apple that she presented when the assignment was bananas. Okay. However, why don't you take that short story that she wrote and submit it to magazines and stuff that publish short stories and see if you can encourage her creative writing in a constructive way and not in school where it's not asked for or warranted. I think that would be a good idea. But no, I don't think you're the a-hole. I mean, the assignment was what the assignment was, and she did not do it, and she shouldn't get a better grade for it because she didn't complete the real assignment. That creativity needs to be channeled elsewhere. Let's see what Reddit has to say. You are the a-hole. Coming from someone who has worked in education for 15 years, I would schedule a meeting with the teacher to better understand your daughter's grade and ask about this assignment specifically. If there's an opportunity to provide some insight to the teacher regarding her doing absolutely nothing during break and writing a short story instead, then do it. If your daughter's actually performing at grade level and not missing assignments, then the teacher is being a bit over the top. I don't get how a D is even possible if she is a good writer. I think this is an opportunity for you to be an advocate for your child in a positive way and show her you care. The counselor is right. Get a meeting, talk to the teacher, and cut your daughter some slack. Sounds like she's missing out on a ton of things and is in a super strange and uncomfortable age. I don't quite agree. I mean, with some of it, yes, but not with all of it. I mean, the assignment was what the assignment was. Why is she special? Because she's poor? Because she didn't get to do fun things? That's not the point. That is not the point. You don't get special treatment because you have a different financial status than your friends. You needed to find something to write it about. Maybe you should have done something interesting, like read all the literary works of Jane Austen and then talked about that. I don't know. You could have done something. You could have started an experiment, started a this, started a that, just anything to talk about what you did. Even you went to your mom's job. What is your mom's job about? What does your mom do? What happens there? Would you like to do that when you grow up? Like, that's what the assignment was meant for. You just decided to do whatever you felt like doing, and you need to be brought back to earth. But like I said, I think there is a way to channel this creativity in a positive way, and that's what I would suggest. I would like to know what you all think about that one in the comments, and let's get on to the next story. This says, am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit my niece while my sister goes on vacation? That's a lot. How old? What are the specifics? Let's get into it. My sister is going on vacation for a week soon and isn't taking her 2-year-old daughter Elise with her. My sister still lives at home with me and our parents, and normally they would be the ones to look after Elise when my sister is out, but they're working the week that she'll be away so they aren't an option for during the day. My mother came up to me recently and asked how I would feel about looking after Elise for the week during the day until they arrive home from work, and I told her I wouldn't want to because I have no idea how to look after a toddler and I don't want to be with her for that length of time. She said that was okay and didn't mention anything about it after. I'm gonna stop you right here. When did your fucking baby become your sister's responsibility? Like, she's going on vacation, we need to figure out who's gonna watch the baby. No, she's going on vacation. She needs to figure out who's gonna watch her fucking kid. And if she can't get people to watch her kid, then she can't go on the fucking vacation. Wow, I love when like your kids become everybody else's problem. Wild. She must have told my sister because she pretty much stormed into my room and asked me why I don't want to look after Elise. I told her the same thing I told my mother, and she started trying to make me feel bad or something by asking me why I wouldn't want to spend time with my niece if I love her and stuff like that. I told her I don't care what she says because I wasn't doing it, and she said I was being selfish by not doing this after everything she's done for me and that she's stuck for a babysitter now because of me. I just told her she should have thought about that before she decided to book a vacation, and she left. I mean, were you wrong though? No, not your responsibility. And what are you working? What are you in school? What are you on vacation? Are you gonna waste your whole vacation babysitting for free? I fucking think not. Definitely not the a-hole, but let's see if Reddit has a different opinion than we do. Not the a-hole. You're exactly right. Not wanting to be responsible for a toddler all day long for a week straight, if not more, seeing that you live there, makes perfect sense, and it does not mean you don't love your niece. It's fairly transparent. Entitled sister who is highly dependent on her parents wants to go on vacation and doesn't understand why others aren't willing to bend over backwards to make that happen for her. She's a parent. Childcare responsibilities, including lining up an appropriate and qualified sitter, are solely hers and Elise's dad's responsibility. Yeah, OP responds, I think part of the reason she's mad is because she probably thought I would do it for free and she wouldn't have to pay for a babysitter. LOL. Listen, if you have the money to go on vacation, then you better have the money for a babysitter. Same thing like if you have the money to go out to eat, you better find the money to tip too, or take your happy ass home with your takeout. Okay. I say not the a-hole. I would like to know what you all think about that one in the comments, and let's get on to the next story. This says, am I the a-hole for ruining a funeral and potentially costing a lot of family members their jobs? Let's get right into it. My grandparents passed away recently. I followed the guidelines my grandma set up for her final event. Her church, her burial plot, her casket, and the same for my grandpa. I just didn't expect for it to be a joint funeral. I sent out the notifications to friends of theirs and family after the date was set in stone. Their friends all came, so did most of my grandma's church, but no family showed up. I wasn't surprised. I hadn't seen most of them in about 4 years. I had a great time with my grandparents' friends, and then I went back home and cried my heart out. I had been their sole caregiver, and I didn't know what to do without them. I had taken care of them for 15 years. It started with little things like lifting heavy things and escalated to needing to change the bed twice a night sometimes. I was empty and started to scroll through my grandpa's Facebook to see pictures he posted before his memory went. I found a group started about 3 years ago that was being flooded with activity. When I went poking around, I found out it was my mother who was hosting a funeral at her church and was trying to get final expenses taken care of. I was stunned. Here was the woman I hadn't spoke to since throwing her out of the house for stealing jewelry and upsetting grandma terribly by using her Alzheimer's against her. How could you forget my birthday? You promised to give me this. I went to the funeral my mother had planned and listened to the pastor, and then my mother got up to talk. She told everyone how hard it was taking care of them, and something inside me roared to life. I don't remember everything I said, but it did include that she didn't pay for anything for them, not their caskets, not their burial plots, not their cremation, nothing. I told everyone I put them to rest at the funeral Grandma planned for herself 4 days prior. I said she'd never paid for any of their care or even seen them for 4 years. I was asked to leave and drove home. Later, a cousin asked me if what I said was true, and when I said it was and I could provide proof, they explained my mother had been taking funds from the family for years to pay for their care at a facility because they had outlived their insurance policy. They also explained I got a couple of people in trouble because somewhere in the speech I shouted I had done it all alone for years without any help. A lot of family members used my grandparents as an excuse to get out of work and had invited their coworkers to the funeral. By hearing my outburst, they were now in trouble for lying as for reasons to leave work or miss days. Sounds like the most personal sort of problem to me. She then went on to ask me about the inheritance and when that would be passed out. I told her that if anyone had earned the inheritance, it had already been taken care of. I thought I was in the right, but now I'm doubting myself after so many cousins and family members are calling me to tell me I handled it really poorly. Am I the a-hole? Did I handle this badly? Everyone's telling me I did. Okay, do I think it was the best decision to go to this funeral, even though it was a fake funeral with no bodies there? Even though it was a fake funeral, I don't think you should have stood up in the middle of it and let out this tirade. Maybe there would have been a better way to go about that, but all you said was true. I'm glad you got all those people in trouble. I'm glad that your mother was exposed, and I'm glad you did it. Could it have been done in a more tactful way? Perhaps. I wasn't there. I don't know every specific, but in general, I say you're not the a-hole. Let's see what Reddit has to think. Not the a-hole. I'm honestly not entirely sure how you could have handled that better without being ignored. Your family members created these situations for themselves and now must deal with the consequences. I mean, most if not all of them came to their actual funerals. You handled everything both for their care over the last 15 years and in their passing. And that's probably been very hard for you, especially if you don't have support yourself. I hope you do. Be kinder to yourself. You are grieving and will need some time to heal. I agree, not the a-hole. OP responds, none of the family members came to the funeral. Some of them have excused in my head because of my mom's actions. She sent out messages to everyone the location had changed due to issues with the size of the location. Grandma had picked out the location for her funeral, the same place she used to teach sewing lessons and run childcare teaching events. She loved that location. It was attached to her church. She didn't care what your question was. She'd answer it and help you solve it. Didn't know how to fix the seam of your jeans? She could help. Didn't know how to stop your baby from crying all night? She'd know. She ran a lot of services for her community that still stand strong today, one of which is the Early Days program at her church. Members sign up to visit new parents, do laundry, vacuum, dust, do dishes, cook a meal, watch the baby if the parents need to sleep. I'm so proud of her for the impact on her community. She laughed. Yeah, it's absolutely true that you are not the a-hole. I'm sorry that you've had to go through this. Could things have been done in a more tactful manner? Perhaps, but at the end of it all, you're not the a-hole. I would like to know what you all think about that one in the comments, and let's get on to the next story. This says, am I the a-hole for refusing therapy with my whole family and ignoring my parents begging to try? That doesn't sound any kind of good. I'm 16 male, a glass child. I don't know what that means yet. My sister, 15 female, was born with chronic health problems and a physical disability. Her life hasn't been easy and she's pretty often in pain and limited in what she can and can't do. It meant our parents were always making special time for her and doing what they could to let her enjoy being a kid. It also meant my parents weren't really my parents. They would take her places and leave me behind at home or with someone else in the family. I never got that same time with them. They even missed 2 of my birthdays completely because they had focused so much on bringing my sister to concerts she wanted to go to that they forgot my birthday and didn't even get me something small like a $5 gift card, which they did a few times when their money was more focused on my sister. Y'all, this is breaking my heart. How do you just exclude a child? Like, let me tell you something. I have 2 now, so like I can relate a little bit. And I bring baby J to my 4-year-old stuff as often as I can. And my 4-year-old always comes along on stuff that baby J goes to. I will never exclude them unless it's like, hey, it's mommy 4-year-old date time. It's just a date for mommy and the 4-year-old. Dad and baby J are gonna have their own date. Like, yes, give your kids individual one-on-one time, but don't exclude them. I just want to mother the world. I spent most of my time with my parental grandparents when I was younger, but grandma died 3 years ago and grandpa lives in a nursing home in another city, so I don't have them anymore, and that made it more difficult. COVID was also super lonely because I felt lonely, and like my parents and sister were a family, and I was the intruding roommate. My sister actually had a temper tantrum in April of 2020 and broke some of my gaming stuff, and not only was it never acknowledged at all, but it wasn't replaced either. They only focused on the fact my sister was so upset that she did it. A few months ago, I decided I needed to talk to my parents to see if they could get better. They decided we needed therapy together. In therapy, it was recommended we spend more time together like they do with my sister. So we did that once a week. They still spent the rest of the week focused on my sister. It only just started when my sister got so jealous and had a meltdown over them focusing on me, and she accused our parents of preferring me to her. My parents asked me then if I could be understanding and give more time before we focused on us because my sister really needed them and couldn't deal with sharing them at that point. I was so mad and hurt, but I also felt so done. So I told my parents not to bother because their only child clearly needs them, and I'll be out of their hair as soon as I can be. They went back to my sister being their only focus, and I stopped caring. This made them suggest all 4 of us go to therapy, but with someone new since the old place we went to would not be happy with them ignoring the advice. They told me it's all that will work now. I said no. They told me this is how we work on things together and fix things. I told them it was too late, that I didn't have them being my parents for 15 years, and I'm expected to be okay with that until my sister feels okay about sharing. I told them they made the choice of whose feelings mattered more, and just like always, they put her first, so I was done and I don't want to fix it. They have begged me a few times and they told me they're willing to work on it, so I need to be reasonable. Am I the a-hole? Like how the child has to be the bigger person in the situation. This is such a bunch of bullshit. Sir, OP, gentle adolescent, listen to me. Your parents are making you believe these things that you know deep down not to be true and not to be right. Listen to your gut. You know this is bullshit. You know this is not how families are supposed to work. You know this is not how things should be done. You know that if your parents went back to that old therapist, they'd be ringing them a fucking new one. Stay strong. You're almost 18. You can get the fuck out of the situation. And I'm so sorry for the life you've had to lead so far, but I hope it gets better as soon as you can take those people out of your life. Let's see what it has to say. Not the a-hole. They don't want therapy. They want someone to agree with them and to tell you to accept their neglect of you. I mean, literally, they went to a therapist, didn't get the answer they want, and now they're going to a new one. It's called doctor hopping, but usually it's for pills and not psychotherapy. OP responds, or they don't want to face telling the same person who gave us the work to do that they stopped doing it because their 15-year-old daughter got jealous. They were already told it was important to make both kids feel valued, and they basically shit all over that when it comes to me. Really and unfortunately true, but you're not the a-hole. I would like to know what you all think about that one in the comments. Don't forget, we have a playlist of almost 300 Am I the a-hole videos up here that you can binge. Please don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!